gentlemen, singer, guitar player, drummer, writer, and fellow parody, Jimmy Pappas. Jimmy, thank you so much for being with us tonight.
There you go, CT. Hey, hi everybody.
How are you?
When is the last time I saw you?
So, man, it's been a
Years.
while, years. So I'm gonna treat this as many of the people that watched our get together weren't there or didn't see it. So I'm gonna maybe reiterate some questions I might have done in the past. Uh, but just starting out, Jimmy, how long have you been playing music and what got you started in the biz?
Well, I've been doing it for, let's see, over 50 years. And
Wow.
I grew up in a musical family. My father was a full time musician and a teacher. And I rebelled on everything my parents wanted me to do when I decided I wanted to play drums, because that wasn't one of my father's instruments. I could tell you stories
Hmm.
about that, but when I was 13, um, my band played Manhattan Times Square Earth Day, 1973, doing original
Wow.
music. So I've been doing it that long. Yeah, long
Wow.
time.
Great stuff, man. Now, early influence, obviously, you're coming from a musical family, but what inspired you? What made you want to get started? Like, artists were you admiring coming out?
Well, I grew up in Jersey, Kenilworth, New Jersey, a great town just 6 miles west of Newark Airport, right on top of New York City and
Okay.
everything else. And so, of course, I grew up with the music in the house. My father played society music at the Waldorf and big band kind of stuff. And like I said, he was a music teacher, so there was always something happening. But of course, in the '60s, we listened to AM radio, WABC, Cousin Brucey, and all the hits of the day, and that's what you lived with. You went to sleep with a little radio in your bed, listening to all of the hits of the '60s. Then, as we moved later into the later '60s, uh, I had an older brother and also some older friends through other guys in my family that started to turn us on to what was happening with their music. And so another young, very young, lucky thing that happened to me was in 1971, July 9th, 1971, my brother took me to see Grand Funk Railroad at Shea Stadium with Humble Pie. And I could say that I was 11 years old. And as I came back to school that summer, after that summer, I was changed, and I was in a band already with older guys, and I was a drummer. I was a lead singing rock drummer. Nobody wanted to sing, so I said, I'll sing. And that's how I started singing from behind the
Okay.
drums. Yeah. So I was mainly a real
Now, could
rocker. Yeah. A real rocker.
man, and like as far as and at that time, not many drummers were singing. I mean, it became a little bit more popular as the years have gone on, but back then that wasn't something that was it?
That's right. Well, right there, Grand Funk Railroad, the drummer sang
Yeah.
lead on some stuff. And so nobody in the band really wanted to sing. And, we were playing the hits of the day and Hendrix, Cream, anything we could play with guitar, bass, and drums. Cream, Hendrix, Sabbath, Grand Funk Railroad, Johnny Winter, all rocking stuff. Now, what took me to the next step was at some point in high school, I went down to Puerto Rico with my sister for a couple of weeks when I was about 15, and I discovered James Taylor. And, I was in the loudest bands in the world on the drums. So I discovered the acoustic guitar. So, you could sit on your bed and diddle around with it at night. And it was an escape from the super loud stuff I was doing. So that brought the other, you know, the other entity into my, where my music wound up going.
You know, that was kind of where I was heading. I was going to ask if you could. as somebody that's actively involved in it. Could you explain for any of our viewers and listeners who may not know exactly what trop rock is? I mean, it goes down that James Taylor road. That's part of it. Could you explain that for people in a nutshell? How would you explain trop rock?
Well, as far as Jimmy Buffett, my introduction into, we all knew Buffett, and it was almost like a cult thing in the 70s. He could sell out the garden, but he wasn't really selling that many records. Uh, but the acoustic part of it, for me, I wound up going to meeting at the mines and to do some percussion and drums. And some people asked me do I have any of my own CDs? Now, I had recorded a lot of stuff back in the rock days, which I could go into more because you probably like it. But, they said, we want original music here. We don't want cover bands. And it happened to be my first meeting in the mines, and I was playing percussion for Jim Morris and the Big Bamboo Band in Key West. And I said, the next time you see me, I'll have a CD. So I took my James Taylorish kind of acoustic style and kind of meshed it with Jimmy Buffett and brought in a little more tropical lifestyle, which I always loved anyway, from the heart. But, trop rock, I would say, is a little mix of country, reggae, songwriter storytelling, and uplifting. And there can be some good rock in it too. That's why you got trop rock. So I've tried to do a little bit of all of that in the tunes I've written over the years. Yeah, that's what trop rock, I guess, is. It's a real mix.
Now it's hard to discuss you. You brought him up momentarily, but I want to go a little. I want to dig in a little bit more on Jim Morris. I know who Jim Morris was. For those who may not know, he was almost as pivotal in this trop rock scene as Jim Morris was a big name in the circle, one of the very first names in the circle. How was your relationship with him at one point? Could you explain a little bit about Jim Morris for our viewers?
Well, Jim Morris was a guy that was a fantastic writer, and he knew that in his life, once he retired from his day job, he was either going to be a book writer or a songwriter. He saved all his money, and he retired young, and he decided to start writing songs. And he was a fantastic writer. And so it's a long story how he got kind of involved in the Parrothead scene, but he was one of the few guys doing all his own music, writing fantastic songs, and he almost became like the regular guys, the regular Parrothead people's own Jimmy Buffett. He was their Jimmy Buffett, on their own level, and he really worked hard at it. When he decided to start writing, he said, I'm going to do a CD every year for 10 years. And I think he wound up doing it for 24 years. He was very prolific and very super talented when it came to writing. Greatest songs ever. So that's how, and I wound up meeting him. No, I'm sorry. I wound up meeting him. Well, I can go into that anyway, but go ahead. I can tell you a little more about
absolutely. I was going to say your latest album, Memories You Can Never Erase, was a full album of that you covered. Tell us a little bit about the recording process that went into that. What brought you want to do that for Jim Morris?
Yeah, well, over the years, since playing with Jim I was in his band for about 10 years. In the beginning, I just played percussion and sang background vocals on a few of his CDs, on his albums, Another Day at the Office, and another one called One Man Party. That was way before I actually played the drum set for him. I was just kind of a percussion and a background singer on CDs. But I did play the drums for him for about 10 years and also did acoustic. We would do an acoustic trio with him, myself, and John Patty at times. Uh, but let's see. Well, it's kind of hard to explain, but one thing led to another. One thing led to another with Jim. Yeah.
So how was the received in were members I'm sure members of Morris's family were in touch with this album, a lot
Oh,
of his
well,
fan base.
oh, you're asking me about my CD. Well, what happened was over the years, I would slip a Jim Morris song into my set if I was doing acoustic, solo, whatever, anywhere, even where people didn't know Jim Morris. And I would do a Jim Morris song, and it would get a lot of attention. People would say, "What's that song? Did you write that? Do you have that on a CD?" And I was like, "Well." So over the years, I recorded a bunch of different stuff on 4-track recorders, and there was a few that I did record earlier than that CD. Um, and so, after Jim passed away, last year we did a special cruise, the floating opera cruise on a Margaritaville Islander ship. And I figured, well, let me put these songs together that are half done, so we have something, just a different style of Morris. Mine's a little bit mellower. It's my style, and yeah, everybody loves Jim's songs, so now I have him on the CD, a few of them, but he's got so many great ones. It's hard to scratch the surface.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Yeah, that's how that CD happened.
Absolutely.
I really did it because we were going to do that cruise last year. That
Gotcha.
gave me something to shoot for. Yeah. Yeah.
So I wanted to also ask you, going in a direction, as being a drum chucker, what was that experience like?
Drumming for Chubby? Well, I've been a drummer my whole life, and that was my main thing. And I played with a lot of different bands, especially back in Jersey. I was in that whole scene when everybody was trying to get a record deal, and I played in bands with all the guys, Richie Zambora, all the guys from Bon Jovi. Uh, the whole scene was everybody was trying to do the same thing. So I might be in a rehearsal cubicle with Dave from TT Quick or Vito from White Lion or Richie, or trying to write songs and get a record deal. That's how you did it back then. Um, and but with Chubby, one of my friends got in the band way back when, and all of a sudden he was changing. He was going to change drummers, so I went down and checked it out and jumped in. And playing with Chubby was fantastic. We went all over the world doing a twist. You have no idea how popular the twist and Chubby is in other countries. We would go to Southeast Asia, Australia, everywhere, all the time. And it was one of the best experiences of my life. We did play with him just last year with my Beatles group, Beatle Beats, which I'll tell you about, beatlebeat.com. And we opened up for him for a show down here. I got him to come down here for 2 shows. And this is after we already knew he was going into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, finally. So that's a whole nother story.
Awesome. Yeah. Great.
And Chubby can still sing everything in the original key in that same voice he had when he was 16, when he cut the twist. 16, 17 years old, he had a #1 record. So he's a real rocker.
What year did you start? What year did you start drumming?
I'm sorry, you cut off.
Do you know?
TT.
Do you know what year you started drumming for him?
Oh, I didn't get with him until about early 90s. Gotcha. And I did the drums for him for a few years, right up until we started the show at Epcot. And I'll tell you, the timeline was exactly 30 years ago, June 1996, is when we started the show at Epcot, the British Invasion, which was a mix of Beatles and 60s British Invasion music. It wasn't a Beatles show. It was just a mixed 60s British show. And Chubby was going to do Grease on Broadway that summer of 96, replacing Al Jarreau. And so I said, I'm going to shoot down to Disney and do the 7 weeks at Epcot, and then we'll see each other in the fall. And I never went back, and we wound up keeping the show at Epcot for almost 14 years. And that's how I moved to Florida. That brought me here 30
And
years ago.
you're still playing those areas too. You're still I know you were at Universal last
Yesterday. Yeah. Yesterday I was at
and
Universal. Yeah.
how has that changed? You've seen both parks grow up. You've seen, I mean, at time they've exploded in the time that you've been there. Is the difference you see as far as playing those parks from till now?
You mean the parks? Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
any difference in crowds or
to be honest, Margaritaville at Universal is still the same as it's been for the last 15 years. And even Epcot's pretty much the same. And I still go over there and see some of the bands that play there now, uh, some other friends of ours. But now the parks are, they're consistent. And that's why they're what they are, I guess. But that was a good chance for me 30 years ago. And I thought I was coming down to Florida for 7 weeks, and it wound up being now it's 30 years. And I was very lucky to meet all the people that I have to carry me along.
now going on with you as far as anything recent? Are you recording any new songs? Anything I look forward to?
Right now I really want to do a new original CD, like another very acoustic CD. Simple, but it's always hard for me to do that. So right now I'm just, working on parts. I don't have anything ready to go anytime soon. Uh, I have a lot of music in my brain because we have the Beatles band, then I have all the Morris music, and then all the solo music I've done. And, you know, sometimes it's hard to do one thing and then do another thing, but I'm still trying, CT.
I hear
I'm
you.
not, I'm not done
So
yet.
let's
Yeah,
talk Beetle beats.
yeah,
Uh,
Beatle Beat.
is Beetle been around? I know you Beetle me and uh, but now this is your baby now, right?
Yeah, this is my entity, and we kind of started it around 2008 as we were going to be coming out of the Epcot thing after about, I don't know, uh, 12, 15, 12 or 13 years. But, and so all the guys in Beetle Beat are awesome. They're all guys that played at Disney with me. It's the cream of the crop guys. We do all the Beatles stuff. We do the big costume shows and theaters and this and that. We also do more casual shows where we just, more intimate without the costuming and stuff. We rather do that now. We call it unwigged. That's really what we're doing the most now, and it's fun. And the guys are all fantastic. So it's always great to get together and play down a bunch of Beatles songs because Beatles was really one of my first loves. You know, with records and
Right.
stuff as a kid. Yeah, who didn't love the Beatles? If you're my age. Yeah, yeah.
Now I know we're like well over 50 years since the Beatles last played together. What do you think it is about that music? Because even with the younger generations today, they still value that music. They still love that. What was it about Beatles that still is as poignant today as it ever was?
I think it's just good songs, and that's true. Beatles is the most crossover. We do a Beatles show from little kids to people our age and older. And my wife saw the Beatles, so she's a little older than me, but that's okay. Uh, she saw the Beatles. The songs are great, and they cover every kind of genre. You know, over the short 8 years, really 8, 10 years, whatever they were together, they it's really interesting stuff. So it just keeps going. I don't think it's ever going to end with the Beatles. And that's beatlebeat.com if anybody wants to check it out. We do a thing here, a fun gig in Orlando under the big Ferris wheel, the Orlando Eye at Icon Park. We do a Beatles brunch, noon to 3, once a month on a Saturday. And it's a great time. It's
Nice.
great for the band to get together and just, jeans and T-shirts, drink a few beers, and play whatever Beatles songs we feel like doing. We have a good time. Yeah. If anyone's
That's
ever in
great.
Orlando, yeah,
Now,
you got to check it out. Yeah.
what is your favorite time period of the Beatles to play? I mean, do you like Sergeant Pepper on? Do you like the early stuff? What's your favorite stuff from the Beatles?
That's an easy answer. I like the early stuff. Yeah. I like the early stuff, and I like the real early stuff, Um, of course, the psychedelic stuff and everything is fantastic, the production and everything, and George Martin. But I don't know, it wasn't the same fun uh,
Right.
towards the end as it was in the beginning. And the beginning is what really got you, when you were a kid. So I like the real early stuff. Yeah, the early Beatles is
I
my
mean, the
favorite.
one thing that I remember I had from childhood is watching Help with
Oh,
a friend of mine and just falling out laughing at the intermission part of that movie and just rewinding it on the VHS over and over again just to watch that one part. But they were almost like two separate bands from the beginning. Sergeant Pepper kind of shifted them into what they would become.
that's
But
right.
yeah, I don't think it was as fun as it was in the beginning.
Yeah, yeah. Once '66 came and they stopped touring, and then Revolver was really the turning point where they started to get complicated. And then once you went to Sergeant Pepper and beyond that, you know, it's not like the early Beatles. The early Beatles is my favorite for sure. Yeah.
Now, shifting one last time, I want to talk a little about being a parrot head and how you got talk a little bit more about that. I know you play with some of the guys in the group. Have you had a chance, or do you plan on checking out any of the shows? It's way different than Ball does.
I just lost you there at the end of your sentence. What was that? Say that again.
I'd say very different since Jimmy Buffett died.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I kind of got introduced to the whole Buffett thing and then into the parrot heads, but mainly like when I really got introduced to it was when I went down. My very good friend, Mr. Charlie DeCosa, was called to play emergency bass for Jim Morris's band, and he ran down to Key West, and he said, "You got to get down here and check this out." So I did, and that's when I met everybody. And I got to admit that I met, Jim Morris and John Frenzy, Sonny Jim, and the whole gang back there. Tall Paul. I mean, so many great players. I can't even go down the list. But I want to say that I have to thank John Frenzy for really giving me the most opportunity and helping me along because he knew I was a drummer and I was playing drums for him too. But he knew I was writing some stuff and he really helped me a lot, John Frenzy. In fact, he was the one that personally introduced me to the late great Steve Huntington that we just lost, and
Yeah.
and that meant a lot to me. And Steve was such a great guy, and one of the last thing he did as program director for Radio Margaritaville was get my song Blue Water on there. That was the last song he put on Margaritaville. How about that? My tune.
Wow.
And when he let me know, he goes, "Go
That's
check your
awesome.
emails. I did something for you today. You're the last song I'm putting on here," because he knew he was going to be leaving. And I was just That
Wow.
was just a wonderful thing. Yeah. I mean, all these guys
And
are the greatest guys in the world, too. So,
now, as far as for you, how do people check out your stuff? Now, I know you're available on Spotify, uh, but how do people keep up with you, everything that you in it? Do you coming shows, whether it be with Beetle Beats or solo or anything coming down the pike?
yeah, well, if you go to jimmypappas.com, that also links you to beetlebeat.com, and the same calendar is on there. I also have another entity that I'm doing now for fun, and it's called Dueling Pianos Extravaganza. And so that's duelingpianosfl.com, where I play the drums in it with my piano guys. And we can do anything from Billy Joel, Elton, or all request regular dueling pianos stuff. And we've played a lot of fun shows with that band. We've done a lot of good things, and different things to mix it up, play all kinds of music. That seems like what I've always done is kind of play a little bit of every genre there is out there. Yeah,
Now,
but
you mentioned guitar, drums, piano. What's your favorite instrument to play?
drums. You know,
Drums?
I was a decent singing drummer. I don't know how good I am now, but guitar guitar I can do my own little thing and write my own little songs. But I'm not a guitar virtuoso. But I can stay inside my box and make it seem like I'm probably better than I am. But anyway, back to that. Yeah, jimmypappas.com. You can check it all out. Also, we spent a lot of time creating my own music store. So if you go to jimmypappas.com and you go to music store, all of my material that's recorded, most of it is on there, for downloads and stuff to combat the evil powers that be. That took a long
Yeah,
time to do. Yeah,
man.
it's all
Well,
there.
Jimmy,
Yeah.
thank you so much for taking some time to hang with us this weekend. I know you're a very busy man. So thank you for locking
Not
down
that
some time to hang.
not this. I'm kind of taking this summer off, but we've been very busy. But I want to know a little bit more about this podcast. So, you know, when can you see it? How can you get it? Can you go back and listen anytime? How does it work?
So uh if you on Monday, everything is put on streaming platforms. So we go live on YouTube and Facebook. So this is running live now, but then the replay is available on YouTube under VC name. And then the broadcast is available on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your favorite podcast from, and is available that way. There, it's you can download the show, you can play, just stream it, and again, it's available on YouTube as well.
Great, great. So we're gonna be up there next week then, right? Hey, I,
Awesome.
I
Yeah,
really
absolutely.
appreciate
Yeah,
your.
Monday.
Yeah, I appreciate you reaching out. I haven't done anything like this honestly since I've done the Steve Huntington show. That's the last time I've done anything like this. Since we were doing it all during shutdown. I don't know if that's when you got
Yeah.
started, but yeah, we were doing this all the
What's
time
funny
back
is
then.
I started in 2018, and then I
Yeah.
took a
Okay.
year and a half off. This is my fifth show back from a year and a half off. So we've been
Okay.
back for a little over a month.
Fantastic.
Um, my first time through, I did music that I wasn't as familiar as into, a lot of harder metal, a lot of harder rock. And I decided this time around I'm going to really dig more into the music that I love the most. A lot of trop rock, a lot of straight up rock and roll music, which is why I named it rock. So I'm very excited to on my terms, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I like all of that stuff too. I like Eddie Trunk. I like heavy rock. I'm going to be heading up to Jersey in about 2 weeks to see guys I used to play with, and I love progressive rock a real lot. That's one of my main loves for the drums. But then I like trop rock and I like folk, everything. So, you can't go wrong. If it's good to listen to.
Have you had a chance to check Rush on the new tour? Any
Not
thoughts to the female replacing Peart?
No, I haven't gotten to check it out yet, but I'm hearing a bunch of good reports. I saw Rush back in the day, at the Academy of Music and before they were huge. I bet many times, 2112 and stuff. So I've been a fan forever. Um, no, I haven't really checked it out, but it seems like it's getting a good approval rating, which is great that they're out there playing
Yeah, I
again.
heard
That's the main thing.
It's amazing to me that they have a female filling her role, and that to me that just shows how incredibly talented this drummer has to be.
Yeah, I think she's fantastic, and I think that kind of softens the blow. Because if they used a guy,
Yeah,
there'd be so many people saying they should have used this guy, they should have used that guy. But by them bringing her in, they kind of dusted around all of that, and she's cutting the parts, and that's what she needs to do. She's a great drummer. She played with Jeff
that's
Beck
good.
and a lot of other people, a lot of other great people. Yeah.
So, well, Jimmy, thank you so much for taking some time to hang with me tonight. I definitely
Thanks,
want to do
CT.
this again. I love
I know
talking to you.
we could go on forever, right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So,
Well, I
Jimmy,
appreciate
have a
everybody
good rest of
listening.
your
Yeah.
weekend.
Peace be with you.
And
We'll hope to see you again. JimmyPappas.com.
absolutely,
Check it
dude, we
out.
got to do this again.
All right. Thanks, CT.
Jim,
Really appreciate you
is it
reaching
under
out.
Jimmy or Jim Pappas?
It's JimmyPappas. Jimmy Pappas.
There it is.
There it is. Okay.
Make sure you check him out. Thank you so much, Jimmy.
Thanks, buddy. Be good.
Okay, see ya.
Check who out.
As you can see, I am being joined by